You might recognize him as the British butler from The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, but he's also a member of the Royal Shakespeare Company and made history when he became the first non-white actor in Britain to play King Lear. He's one of the stars of Hero, a film about Royal Air Force pilot Ulrich Cross. Joining us now for more on his celebrated career and a sightline into what Brexit looks like for Black Brits is actor Joseph Marcell. Hi.
Hello.
I am so excited to meet you and to speak with you. It's a pleasure to have you here.
It's a pleasure to be here. I'm excited too.
Well, you're in town actually to promote the film Hero.
The film Hero.
Which is about a man named Ulrich Cross.
Right.
Who was Ulrich Cross?
Ulrich Cross was a Trinidadian who, in the course of his life, joined the Royal Air Force, was quite distinguished, became a political activist, cared about the future of his country and whether or not colonialism was perhaps the best way for his country to enter the modern world, and was an unsung hero of the so-called Black struggle.
Well, we have a clip from the film featuring your part, and then we'll talk more about your involvement in the film.
Okay.
Let's take a look.
I'm here in studio with Mr. C.L.R. James, the author of Minty Alley and the Black Jacobins. And we are here this evening to talk about one of the hot topics of the day, the independence of Gold Coast, soon to be Ghana. C.L.R., why don't you tell us how you got involved?
Mr. Cross, to understand this moment in time, you need to take a wider view of history. In October 1935, I heard that a man called George Padmore, the great communist, who had lived in Russia for a while, a teacher, a writer, was coming to England.
Throughout the course of Ulrich Cross's life, it seemed that he just always exceeded expectations. It's been said that he was the most decorated RAF pilot of West Indian descent.
Yes.
He was a lawyer, and he was also a presenter on the BBC.
Yes.
In the film, you play a man by the name of C.L.R. James.
Yes.
Who was he?
C.L.R. C.L.R. was the enfant terrible of Caribbean literature, thought, cricket, sport. He was truly a Renaissance man. He was the brains behind power.
Well, because one of the themes of this film is the idea of Pan-Africanism.
Yes.
What role did Ulrich play in facilitating that movement along C.L.R. James?
You have to take this in time. What they were able to do at that time was to actually cross-fertilize the diaspora. So you had the African freedom fighters, you had the Caribbean thinkers, and they all got together and decided this is the way to go. And what Ulrich did with C.L.R. James was to synthesize those thoughts in the form of a newspaper that, they kind of, so people could contribute and people could be known. Although C.L.R. did not quite agree at every turn with the way Ulrich was going or George Padmore, but there was an understanding. And there's an interesting example. I think it was the Jamaican poet Claude Mackay who wrote the poem "If We Must Die, Let Us Not Die Like Dogs," etc., which was a sonnet which Winston Churchill used as the rallying cry for the British people in the Second World War. No, the English people in the Second World War. But those men were, they were Caribbean boys and they were African boys and they knew what to do.
And they went to Ghana, they went to Congo.
They met Patrice Lumumba, they met, yes, all the so-called freedom fighters of the 1950s, the men who liberated their countries from the shackles of colonialism were there.
One thing I found really fascinating about this film was that how connected people from the Caribbean were to the Pan-African movement in Africa. Because nowadays, I kind of get a sense there are differences between the two groups, but once upon a time, we were so interconnected.
It's interesting you should say that. They were... There is, should I say this? Yes, I should. Caribbean people were kind of presented with a theory that perhaps they were not exactly estranged from Africa, that they didn't really belong. They didn't have anything in common with Africans. They were Africans were barbaric, and they lived in trees and that kind of stuff. And the Caribbean people lived on beaches, and they had mangoes, and they played cricket, and they believed in the kind of the British ethos. And when these people met in London, they realized that we were the estranged brothers, and we were the children of. We were their relatives. And all of a sudden, there was this kind of, I don't know, rapprochement, kind of get-together that moved on to, countries seeking their freedom and their independence.
Well, you were born in St. Lucia,
Yes.
and your family moved to London when you were 8.
Yes.
Do you remember what it was like when you first moved to the UK?
The problem with memory, and it becomes legend. I was in St. Lucia last week, so kind of my memories are always kind of sharpened every time I go there. But I do remember it. I do remember as a small boy the things we did. Swimming in the sea, going to the beach on Sundays, going to church, going to confession on Fridays and all that stuff. My first communion, I was confirmed in England, but my first communion, things like that.
What I think is so interesting is that you're a classically trained actor. How did you end up as a first generation, I'm assuming, to be a classically trained actor? Because most times it's like you're going to be a lawyer, you're going to be a doctor.
A CPA.
Right. But a classically trained actor usually doesn't.
Well, unfortunately, and no matter how much I'd like to claim it, I am not the first. Those Pan-African boys, those actors who went before me, people like Norman Beaton, Thomas Baptiste, they were the classical actors, but they not only did they not get any recognition, there is actually no memory of anything they did, which is even worse.
Well, this is, I think, where a film like Hero, where you're talking about people that we would never know.
Exactly.
How important do you think a film like that is in preserving history that might otherwise be lost?
I think it's very important, but we must also remember that it's there have been myriads of docudramas about the plight of the of the non-white person. This is a film, and it really is a drama made by a very accomplished non-white director.
Francis Anne Solomon?
Absolutely, Francis Anne Solomon. And it is fine. I think fine is the word that defines it. And it is unexpected. And I think from where I'm sitting, that is what is important. The fact that there are artists. That kind of makes the life of Thomas and Edrich Connor and Norman Beaton and all those people, I mean, it validates it. It validates film directors who we didn't have an Oscar Michaud.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, there's so much.
We did have many, yes.
There's so much news coming out of the UK right now, and one of the we're hearing a lot about Brexit, but we haven't really heard very much about Windrush generation. Your family actually moved to the UK during that time, which is the time between 1948 and 1971, and
Yes.
these were people from the Caribbean.
Yes.
And they came to the UK. They were invited to come to the UK because of labor shortages.
When the man who is responsible for creating that mistrust, that anger towards non-white people in Britain came to the Caribbean, a man called Enoch Powell, to get West Indians to come to the mother country to help rebuild it after the Second World War. I mean, his recruitment was par excellence. I mean, doctors, lawyers, farm workers, electricians, plumbers, ne'er-do-wells, everybody got a chance to come to rebuild it. And it was a force, a movement that came from not only the fact that, a chance to better yourself. I mean, you can't say that there wasn't self-interest, because there was, but the self-interest was for the children, not for the parents. But they wholeheartedly went to England, went to Birmingham, went to Wolverhampton, went to Edinburgh, went to London, went down to Devon and Plymouth and places to help rebuild, because London especially, was a bomb site. London and Coventry were bomb sites.
And one of the problems is because these were children who traveled on their parents' passports.
Yes.
And these documents are no longer around.
They are no longer
So now
around.
these people are facing deportation, right?
Yes, they are. In 19, I think it was 1984, 85. Mrs. Thatcher decided that there had to be a change in citizenship. That being British meant something different to being English, and so that's where it began. A lot of people did not really take it seriously. I mean, it's like, I've got a British passport, I am British, I've lived here for 40 years, I've lived here for 50 years. There were people who were here even before the First World War, I mean, in Britain before the First World War. And they did not think it was important to become a citizen, because they were citizens. And then in the late 90s, early 2000s, with the advent of refugees, et cetera, things came to a head. And of course, who gets attacked in these situations are the weakest, the least informed. And so what happened was that I may have been, but let's say my father and my mother, who had not registered as British citizens in the modern sense, were, if they went off to vacation in our case, it would have been St. Lucia, they would not be allowed back, which meant they lost their life's work.
Well, we're running out of time, and
I'm so sorry.
No, this is fantastic. I want to get into. I love your insights, but I want to take it back a little bit to the 70s, and you were actually on a groundbreaking show called Empire Road.
Oh my gosh!
I would like to show you a clip from it. Sheldon, please roll.
Good
I
afternoon.
might as well tell you now I ain't got it.
Don't say that, Miss May.
It's pigtail soup you want, sir? Boss yourself, go on.
I come about other things.
Have some soup first.
The rent, Miss May.
Forget it. Try the pigtail soup instead.
The rent! Please.
So I love that clip. Oh, it must be weird. We'll see.
It really is. I don't know who that person is.
Well, this was the first British series to feature mostly Black writers, actors, and directors, and it aired in 1978 and 1979.
Yes.
What was it like to be a part of that series?
It was astonishing. I had just left the Royal Shakespeare Company, and I had been working with a writers' company called Payne's Plough, and I was asked to be part of this, and the most exciting part of it was that the main director of the whole thing was a Trinidadian director called Horace Ovey, who is the template for people like Francis Anne Solomon and stuff. You know, he was. But for me, it was a chance to show off my versatility, I suppose, because I stuttered.
Because you stuttered, right?
Yeah. But I was told to it had to be subtle. So I think I managed it. And I loved it. I loved every moment of it. That was really my first proper television role. I'd done a couple of small ones, but this was really one.
And the bug bit you hard.
It really did.
Well, you are the first non-white actor to play King Lear, and King Lear has been called the greatest play and role ever written. You've been in other plays by Shakespeare, but what did it mean to you to play this role?
I just need to add a little something to that. Othello hadn't been played in London since Paul Robeson in the 1930s with Dame Peggy Ashcroft playing Desdemona. And I was the first actor to play Othello in London in 1984, and that was because of a man called Peter James, who saw me at the Royal Shakespeare Company and said, I want you to come and play Othello. King Lear comes from, I'm on the board of the Globe in London, and I happened to be in the theatre on a photo shoot, and I was doing something weird. And the artistic director, a man called Dominic Drangul, said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I think I'm practicing for my Lear, and I'm trying to decide whether to give it to the Globe or the Royal Shakespeare Company." And 3 weeks later, he rang my agent and said, "Would Joseph like to come and play Lear for us?" It is the mountain of all mountains, because it is not a man who has degenerated into nothingness and then finds himself. It is a king. Even when at his most indigent, when he's sleeping on the pavement on cardboard boxes, he is still a king. And that was what I found wonderful about it, and I enjoyed it. And I played it for 2 years.
And you toured the world.
I toured the world,
And I'm
yes.
sure when you were touring the world, you heard a lot about this next question, which is you playing Jeffrey on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Can we have a clip,
Oh my
as if
God.
you don't remember what
As
happened?
if I have no idea. I've never heard of
Let's
it.
take a look.
Michael Jordan, Al Capone, Woody Woodpecker, Fred Flintstone. Hey, come on, vogue with me, baby.
Good, Jeffrey. We're voguing.
And what is the precise nature of this nervous disorder? It's for people that want to look cool but ain't really got no rhythm. You should be pretty good at it. Now, come on, strike the pose. Unhand me, you ruffian.
It's like my childhood all over again. Next year marks 50 years of doing this, of being an actor.
Yes.
Looking back, I know there's a lot to go through. What are you most proud of?
Oh my heavens! It's one of those things. Two cliches. If you can't be with the one you love the one you're with. And secondly, the latest experience is always the best. However, I have been very lucky, and I really don't know why. There was a lady in my life, God rest her soul, called Nina Finberg, who was a teacher who actually said to me how my career would be. You know, like it would start off and it'd be difficult, and when you get to 30, things will start happening for you, and when you get to 40, it'll get even better, and when you're in your 60s, you'll be unstoppable. And it's like, and it's happened. I mean, it's a great prediction. What are the highlights of my life? The first highlight really is meeting Nina Finberg. The second highlight is joining the Royal Shakespeare Company, and which was really my second job as an actor, and staying with them and getting to Broadway and stuff. And then, thirdly, it was being directed by Patrick Stewart in Measure for Measure and taking it to UCLA, and then somebody seeing me in it in UCLA and said, "This is the man we must get to play Geoffrey in The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, this geezer from the Royal Shakespeare Company." And they didn't know who I was, and then it happened, you know, it's pure magic. And then after that, it was, you know, well, I need to say before that it was Othello, and after that it was meeting the late Sam Wanamaker and being invited to be part of the Globe, and I have been part of the Globe since 1986, I think it was. And being allowed, yes, that is the greatest gift and the most exciting thing in my whole career, is being allowed to do what I like. So I select very carefully what I do. And the older I get, the less concerned I am with certain things, and so I do select. But yes, I have managed to pick. I have
Definitely.
so far not repeated myself.
Well, Mr. Marcell, it's been a pleasure to meet you and to talk to you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
The Agenda with Steve Bacon is brought to you by the Chartered Professional Accountants of Ontario, helping businesses stay on the right side of change with strategic thinking, insightful decisions, and business leadership. Are you on the right side of change? Ask an Ontario CPA.